Yeah.
This is William James Kurtz III. I am a licensed attorney in the state of Texas, bar number 240-36934, and thereby considered an officer of the court in the state of Texas. With me is Richard Stanley Stevens, who is acting as paralegal videographer, and we're here to take the testimony and statement of Daniel Savala. We're at 5029 Rusk Street, Houston, Texas 77023. It is approximately 6 p.m. on Sunday, April 23rd, 2023. Mr. Savala, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Now we're here to talk about basically some unhappy things, some ugly things. There have been some allegations that have come to light. Do you know about these?
No. Yes and no. I mean, I know that they're there, but I don't know exactly what is being said.
Can you tell us what's true?
I can tell you that I'm a registered sex offender. I think in the state of Alaska, it's in 2012, I think. I'm a registered sex offender. I know that I'm deceptive. I know that I've used. I know that. I know that I've used my. I guess you could say deception in order to take advantage of people. Here in Texas, I know that I hid these things from people, and I know I manipulated people, and it mostly I was able to use religion in order to. I was able to use religious things not as, I guess, as a cover. Maybe that's not the right word, but as a way to gain self-interest, into people's lives that were people that were naive and had no clue as to my real motives. Because what happens is that people can just see that, that spiritual part of your life, and without seeing the whole of who you are. And I can say that. And I can say that I can say there were instances where I took advantage of some people that would come. Now, I can say this, that no one had a clue. No one. I know that there was leaders like Eli Gotro, Eli Stewart, Jonathan Bryce, and others, Matt Hugendorn. They didn't have I hid all these things from them. I can say that in order to justify my offenses, I would use the, I guess you could say, excuse that people, but it is true. I never asked people to come here. None of these leaders manipulated people to come here. People, I guess they never told people to come here. everybody who's ever been here has been an adult that and
as far as you know.
As far as I know, and but they came on their own, and I never would ask people to come. But the reason they came here was because of spiritual things that I would talk about in life, and but I did have an attraction to the same sex all my life, and sometimes I would see, I would get triggered, and I would use it to my advantage. The one I can think of is one young man, and another thing that I would use it to justify. This was years ago, though. I don't remember when. I can't give you. It was, but I knew that this young man was originally came here for spiritual reasons, but I got him in enough of a friendship to stay here overnight, and I manipulated him. I remember I reached over and I touched his genitals, and he reciprocated. I know that he was, an adult. He was, but that's how I justified what I was doing, because I would say to myself, oh, he likes this. He's having fun. But all along, I was taking advantage of him. I did that more than once. I know there's another one, the same thing. He was probably in his 20s. And the way I justified it is I knew that, anybody would. You could, when you touch the body in a pleasurable way. And and I did that with them more than once. I can't say how many times. There was never any anal intercourse or anything like that. I just know that there was mutual masturbations and being in the shower, and but nobody had a clue. I kept that well hidden, and I also knew that they'd be too ashamed to tell someone. So I knew that was and I also knew that it was wrong. I knew that I was wrong. I knew that there was I knew that I was manipulative. I knew that I was cunning, but I did it anyway because I think just for my own sense of belonging, I guess, or self-pleasure or whatever,
And let me make clear, you're not under any duress. There's nothing, we've not threatened you, or you're here of your own free will.
I'm doing this because it's definitely my own free will. I want to do this. I want to, I know that I'm wrong, and I know that, I just took advantage of these. I wouldn't say innocent because they're adults, but I would say naive young men that I think fell into my own, like a trap, using my religious, words in order to gain friendships and trust, because you can use religion as a form of trust. Like, this guy's spiritual, this guy, and you could use that and and through that you can have conversations that are more personal, like about masturbation and things like that, and which I always talked about. That was my way of getting in. Was talking about masturbation. And of course at that age, they're dealing with this, and I would justify masturbation, and so, but I do know that no one had a clue, and I did it very cunningly, like no one had a clue.
So is it fair to say that there was a pattern? Young men would show up, something would trigger you.
Yes.
You would engage, you would use your religion, your abilities of manipulation to engage in sex acts.
Yes. And
did you mention leaders with Chi Alpha? Did any of them at any point have any idea that
they had zero idea? They couldn't have known, because with them they were convinced that I'm a normal heterosexual man, and I had that going. Like I had that, I guess you could, facade. I had a facade of being a very deeply thinking, spiritually minded individual that anyone would trust, especially because of my knowledge, and it was real. It was like, but that's what they saw. These people, because of their good hearts, these are good people with good hearts, and what they saw. I have a little term, and you don't see things the way they are, you see things the way you are. And so out of their goodness, they naturally had this deep confidence, that I was a safe person and a noble person and an outright, person and all this stuff. So they had no clue, and most of the time they had no clue that these people were even here. Well, not all of the time. They had no clue that these young men were here. These young men came on their own. They weren't sent by them. They weren't, they came on their own because they liked me, as a person. Like, I convinced them that I was their friend, so when they would come over here, they didn't ask for permission to come here. They came on their own because they saw me as a wise, counseling, trustworthy friend, and because I justified masturbation as natural, because I knew that anyway. That's what I would do. I would say, oh, this is natural. This is fun. This is what friendship is, and I won't tell anybody. And I also knew that these young men would be too ashamed and embarrassed to tell anybody. So,
can I ask you about there is a conviction in Alaska from 2012 that you mentioned?
Yes.
At that time, were all of the leaders and when I say leaders, I mean credentialed Assemblies of God, Chi Alpha leaders, did they think you were guilty?
They did not think that I was guilty.
Why do you think not?
Because I had them convinced that I wasn't. Because again,
and even including me.
No, what I'm saying is the facade that I had. I was the facade that I put, the picture that I put in their heads was a picture of a very moral, well-meaning, and you know, and at the time, you know, I was nursing my dying parents, so that gave more credibility, you know, to like, this is a very good man, you know, look at him, and so none of them, no one ever knew of my same-sex attraction. They couldn't have a clue. They all thought I was a normal heterosexual, you know, celibate person who was taking care of, you know, wonderful. So at that time, those leaders were convinced that I was, and I did not give a hint that I was guilty. I used them I used everybody. I used these people, and they were just as naive, and that is the truth. They were completely naive of what was going on. You know, I know that's true, because someone like me is very good at portraying a picture of themselves that wants to be acceptable, and would never, you know, I would never break that picture, I was dishonest in not telling them the real, like, they saw that spiritual part out of the goodness of their heart, but I did not let them know that part of my life. You know, not mentioned it, wouldn't talk about it. I would make fun of gay people. I would, all that stuff. I was just playing the game.
And in fact, with the charges from Alaska, didn't you paint it as a spiritual attack?
I did. I painted it. I painted myself as a victim. And of course they I wouldn't say fell for it. They, out of the goodness, out of their well and pure motives and high belief in my spirituality, they had a real high view, you know, of God and all these things that I talk about, and they were convinced that in their heads, I know this is true, they were convinced no one that talks with this kind of wisdom can possibly have this kind of perversion. And I know that's what they were thinking. They were completely taken, you know, all along I was playing the victim, you know, that and that's not their definitely that was not their I guess the motives of their heart was definitely, Daniel is a wonderful wonderful man and an asset to the kingdom of God, and you know they've never seen anybody like so noble. Like, you know, look at him, he's taking care of his parents, and look at what he talks about. He's so wise. He's so, you know, no one would see through that.
So do you question the judgment of these men who are credentialed to not see through? Like, do you think they have poor judgment and the same kind of thing would happen over and over again? Like, do you think it's their fault?
No, I would question my cunning. You know, I would question like my cunning, that's what I would question. It's not, they're not the issue. I'm the issue. You know, these are great people. They're not these, and I took advantage of these great people. Like I would say that like anybody who, I guess this is going to sound strange. It'll be a strange metaphor, okay? But it would be like a businessman that's very highly successful, and all of the younger guys wanting to learn how to make money. That would, like that. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm gonna learn from him. See, when all along he's got plans on taking their money. So it's kind of, does that make sense? That's the they had no clue at the brilliance of this guy, and that guy was me. So I know that they, again, I took complete not just advantage, but I took advantage of their hearts, their motives. Like, you couldn't get better men, and you couldn't get like a better guy like me to trust. I was the best. Like, I was the best businessman on the block. Better than all the other businessmen. I was making most money, and what I mean is spiritual terms, but none of these men ever even had a hint of a clue of who I really was. They couldn't have.
What happened when they found out, like recently, when it's come to light and things have come out?
Well, I haven't seen them, but I can imagine the trauma and the trauma and the maybe stunned that they've been hoodwinked all along, and they had no clue. I'm sure that they're even now at a they might even be, I hope not, but like I said, it would be wrong to blame themselves. It wouldn't be reality to blame themselves. It's not reality to even go there. It isn't reality. I'm the reality. It's my trickery, my being able to see through stuff that's the reality is Daniel, and my ability to bob and weave, and ability to not take like these men take responsibility. I won't, or I didn't, and I know that's the truth, but one of the cowardly things is not taking responsibility. And I would talk about taking responsibility. And but all along, I was the one that was completely, probably in a very cowardly, maybe sinister, cunning, secretive facade. And I had them all very well under my spell. And that's not their fault. It really isn't. They couldn't know.
Do you have anything to add, or?
I think that I just know that from what I understand, I'm not trying to justify anything, okay? I don't know what's being said and what's not being said, but I can say that from what I'm seeing, a lot of this, I don't even know what it is. All I know is that I have taken advantage of people, you know, and that is the reality.
Okay. So I think we're good. We're going to conclude at approximately 6:23.